This episode of Coaster Conversations was previously released on August 15th, 2022. Hello everybody, welcome to Coaster Conversations presented by Airtime Traveler. My name is Nathan Grace, and this week I am joined by my wife and lovely co-host,
Haley Grace.
And it is Haley's first appearance on Coaster Conversations.
Yay!
If this is your first time listening to one of our podcasts, this is kind of our secondary podcast, so be sure to go and check out Airtime Traveler, the roller coaster history podcast. Over there, each episode we take one roller coaster and we dive into the history of that individual coaster. So we've done 10 episodes over there, and we're doing those every other week. And on the weeks we're not doing Airtime Traveler, either I or Haley and I will be over here doing an episode of Coaster Conversations where we may talk about news, we may have some kind of segment that we do, we may play a game, we'll just do any kind of, coaster content other than, the roller coaster history content that we're doing over at Airtime Traveler, so.
Yeah, you gotta shake things up a bit.
Yeah, and it's fun to do different things than just the normal, history stuff we're doing on the other podcast, And the reason I started Coaster Conversations is because, there was just news that I wanted to talk about, but there's just not time to talk about that while we're doing our normal.
I feel this week, so much has happened.
Yeah, so that's what I actually wanted to start with, was just take 5-10 minutes and just kind of go over some of the news that's happened this week. So we're recording this on August 12th. So yesterday was a huge day in the industry. Cedar Fair kind of made their announcements for their 2023 investments, and then Six Flags also had I think it was a call with their shareholders, I think is what it was. So a lot of big stuff happening yesterday. Let's talk Cedar Fair first. So I think the biggest announcement from Cedar Fair was the new coaster coming to Worlds of Fun, which is really exciting for Worlds of Fun because they haven't gotten a new coaster in, I think it was 14 years. It's 13 years now. When by the time it's opened, it will have been 14 years since their last coaster opened. So, it's really encouraging to see them put something at Worlds of Fun because
I hope it continues to grow.
Yeah, I do too, because
for Kansas City, but then also that park.
Yeah, and it's. For those of you that don't know, that is the closest Cedar Fair park to where Haley and I are at. It's about 3.5 hours away from us. So, it's encouraging, like I said, to see Worlds of Fun getting a major investment, because I know there's a lot of parks in the Cedar Fair chain that haven't gotten something for a while. And Worlds of Fun was one of those, but then also Valley Fair, Michigan's Adventure, and Dorney Park haven't gotten anything in a long time either. So Worlds of Fun had kind of fallen into that category of the bottom feeder, one of the bottom feeders in the Cedar Fair chain. And so people were like, oh, well, might get one of the, leftover roller coasters from California's Great America. I think they have a Wild Mouse coaster there that Worlds of Fun doesn't have a Wild Mouse, so they might get that. So anyway, people are kind of like, oh, maybe Worlds of Fun will get a Wild Mouse. And
dear.
Which still would have been exciting for that park because they haven't gotten anything in so long.
But if there's one thing that the coaster community doesn't need, it's another Wild Mouse. Just be honest there.
Yeah, they're fun, but they're a dime
a dozen. Yeah,
there's so many of them. So, but to see them get a brand new roller coaster is exciting. What was it? Zambezi Zinger?
Something like that.
Gosh, I'm trying to remember. I think that's the name of it. But it's a spiritual successor to a steel coaster of the same name that operated at the park for long time. I think from 73 to 97. So with that, 24 years. So almost half
You're
of the
the one that's
park's
better at
life.
math than I am. So.
And then they tore it down, but the station, they're going to use the same station.
Right.
It's going to have a spiral lift hill, just like the old steel coaster used to have.
Which I've never been on one like that, so I'm excited to see what that will be like.
I know there's at least one. I think it's at Six Flags Great America that has I might be wrong about that. It's at a Six Flags park for sure, but. Anyway, that model, the old Schwarzkopf, I think it was the Jetstar model that had the spiral lift hills, and so that company went out of business, so they don't make them anymore. They've kind of been a dying breed. So to see GCI come in and do a spiral lift hill to kind of be a spiritual successor to the old coaster is kind of cool. So
it gives me hope that they'll like kind of shake things up too, because I feel like it's so different than other coasters out there that like they're getting more and more creative with how they play in different aspects of coasters.
I'm a little concerned that the coaster, other than the spiral lift hill, is just kind of going to be the same thing as Prowler, which is another GCI coaster at Worlds of Fun. So I'm a little worried that they'll be pretty similar as far as the ride experience after the lift hill, but any major investment at Worlds of Fun is a win at this point.
Right.
I think this takes Worlds of Fun from being like a bottom tier Cedar Fair park to probably bottom of the mid tier, if that makes sense.
It does make sense.
So, and I'm hopeful that they'll continue to make investments at the park, and so to see Worlds of Fun be getting something, but Michigan's Adventure Valley Fair and Dorney Park didn't get anything, shows me that Cedar Fair is hopeful that Worlds of Fun could still be a worthwhile endeavor for them.
Right.
There had even been rumors when they announced they were selling off California's Great America, people were like, they might be getting rid of other parks too, and Worlds of Fun had been talked about. But for them to make a major investment in the park seems to be saying that they are not looking to get rid of it at this point, which is good.
Yeah,
so,
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen much worse fail though, so I'm hoping that's not the case.
Yeah, and my only thing is like, because it's for the 50th anniversary, maybe that's why they were willing to make the investment, and now they won't make another investment for another 15 years. I don't know. We'll see, but
I guess it just depends on the revenue that they get.
Yeah, how successful it is. So. Yeah. So that was their big announcement. They also announced Aeronautica Landing at Carowinds, which is a new themed area. This had been rumored for a few months about an aviation-themed area in the park. They have some rides there that are already themed to aviation.
Is there a reason why?
Just because North Carolina was where
I guess
mankind first flew was in North Carolina.
Brothers.
And the airport's actually very close by too.
Oh, really?
So when I was there, like you could see planes constantly overhead. So.
Huh.
So they'll be. It's going to be right over Afterburn, which is themed to fighter jets, so that matches. And then everything else, will just be aviation themed flat rides that they're putting in 5 new rides, which is.
I'm surprised that no one's like done anything like Top Gun, like the new movie Top Gun. Because it was such a high-grossing movie.
That's because Paramount owns the rights to it, and Paramount doesn't do anything in the theme park industry anymore. So, if Paramount still was in the industry, there would have been Top Gun roller coasters before the movie even came out. But they don't really touch that anymore. So,
which is a bummer. I think that a Top Gun themed roller coaster would be really cool.
Yeah. Well, that's what Afterburn used to be themed to when Paramount owned that park.
Got it.
So, anyway, yeah. So that's Carowinds, and then Cedar Point's getting a new boardwalk section in the park.
Which I'm really excited for that. I wish that we were going after
next
it's
year
opened. Because I love the beach, so to have it be right there on the beach, and then I don't know, it's just such a different kind of feel to an amusement park that
Well, and there's lots of parks that have a boardwalk section in their park,
but it's
but for
on the beach.
Yeah, so for one to be like on the beach is cool.
Yeah.
It gives you kind of a mix of, because at Cedar Point they have like a western section in the park, and then they have like a couple sci-fi themed rides, and so for them to be able to have an actual boardwalk section that like a Jersey park would have or a California park could do that's on the shore, is pretty cool. So,
and Erie's beautiful. It's a beautiful beach, and the lake is gorgeous. So I'm excited. I'm excited for them and to see where that goes. And
so they are building a new roller coaster on the boardwalk there.
Are they? I did not hear that.
Remember when we talked about the Reverchon spinning wild mouse coaster?
Yes.
So like Exterminator at Kennywood, that model?
Yeah.
Well, we talked about in that episode, I think it's episode 9 of Airtime Traveler if you want to go back and listen to that, but we talked about in that episode that Reverchon, they started working with Zamperla, and now Zamperla owns the rights to that model, and they're the ones that are building it. So they are now, that's what Cedar Point is building, is a spinning wild mouse coaster, but it looks like it's going to be a custom layout, which is kind of cool. So it's going to be a spinning wild mouse, but it's not going to be like a cookie cutter like model of just like the same thing that all the other parks have done. Like it looks like a custom layout, which of course that would be Cedar Point to, pay the extra money to make it their own thing. So
they've got the money to do it. So
yeah, so they're calling it Wild Mouse, which it's supposed to, and they're using the logo from the original Wild Mouse coaster that used to be at the park years and years ago.
Yeah.
I think that coaster closed down in the 60s, so it's been a long time. So it's kind of a throwback to one of their old coasters, and it'll look good on those coasters are perfect for boardwalk sections. Like Wild Mouse coasters just fit really well into like your boardwalk section of the park.
Is it because they're just smaller? Or?
Yes, and so boardwalk parks, like an actual boardwalk park, like in Jersey or in California, those sold very well at boardwalk parks because they're so limited on space.
Yeah.
Well, you could get a nice, coaster that was a small size and stick it on your boardwalk because it was so small.
Right.
And so those small wild mouse coasters have kind of become synonymous with boardwalk parks. So even at Knott's Berry Farm, their boardwalk section has a wild mouse coaster. At Carowinds, they had a boardwalk section that also had a wild mouse coaster. So they kind of fit. So those were kind of the big announcements from Cedar Fair. They also announced some details to Worlds of Fun and Carowinds celebrating their 50th anniversaries next year. Knott's Berry Farm is getting an update to the Fiesta Village section of the park. And the Montezuma's Revenge is going to reopen next year with a new name and a new storyline. So that's cool. Also been rumors that they're going to actually change the ride experience, but nothing confirmed at this point. So anyway, lots of stuff from Cedar Fair.
Right.
And then Six Flags. I don't know if you have read into anything.
We've talked about it a little bit, but...
Well, and not only did we talk about it a bit, but I actually, like Six Flags, some of the stuff that the CEO said actually made headlines today. Really? Like in the New York Times and I think it was either New York Times, New York Post. Anyway, I've seen it in a couple of places, but his big thing is they're from what I've heard, and some of this is hearsay from employees and other is confirmed stuff that he said on the call. But from what I gather is he compared Six Flags to Walmart at this point, and he wants to get Six Flags to the point where they're more like Target. So he said he doesn't want them to be the value theme park chain anymore. He wants them to be a step above that. And so they've been increasing prices on their tickets, which has decreased attendance by about 25% from the beginning of the year till now.
Right. Which I can see that because... people want to go see their fair parks instead, which are relatively close to this.
Well, and the increase in price keeps people from. Some people can't afford it anymore,
right? Or
don't want to pay that much,
right?
So, and he says that was their goal, was to kind of cut out some of the I don't know. He says teenagers is what he's saying. He's saying he wants to, he said basically that their parks were becoming places for them to babysit teenagers, which Knott's Berry Farm has had the same problem. And I don't know if we've talked about that on the podcast, but I did. I don't know if we talked about it on the podcast, but I know we
talked about it, you and I.
Yeah, and I know I made a post about it on our social media. So, but
actually, I think we did talk about it a little bit.
I can't remember, but anyway, they have a new chaperone policy that they're implementing to try to help with it. So
wise.
So if that's what Six Flags needs to do instead of increasing their prices, then so be it. But basically, some of what I saw yesterday is the attendance has gone down 25%, but the average spend per person has gone up by like $12 or $13. So I don't know. It's interesting to see Six Flags kind of make this paradigm shift of like, we don't want to be the value chain anymore. But it's like other parks already fill the space of being the middle of the road chain.
I feel like if they wanted to increase their like revenue and like their sales, like instead of raising the actual ticket price, raise like things inside the park, like food, souvenirs.
Well, they are doing that.
They
too.
are.
Mm-hmm. He one of their big focuses because
all of these park people are like freaking let's make as much money as we can.
Yeah, well, and if you're interested to kind of see my thoughts on this, if you're listening, you can go and check out the social media post I made for August 12th, kind of just diving into some of my thoughts on the whole situation. But I mean, basically what it comes down to is the CEO said, basically his words were that Six Flags has enough rides and he wanted to focus on other things. So they're focusing on improving the food experience. They're going to be re-implementing their dining plan, but it's probably going to cost more. What else? He wanted to improve the app experience for guests, and they talked about working on the entrance plazas for the parks. So, I mean, stuff that's not necessarily bad investments, but like, I don't know that I'm not going to go to a park because I was like, oh, I heard they
updated their app.
They updated their app and got a new entrance plaza. We have to go. That doesn't make sense to me. And I get what he's doing. He's trying to make the experience better for the guests that pay more money in the park. And I mean, I guess that makes sense, but you also have to get the people to the park in the first place.
Right.
If you don't add any new rides to a park for 20, 30 years, then people just stop coming. And it doesn't matter how much money they spend at the park if they don't come.
Right.
So, I don't know. It's a tricky situation, and I see both sides of it. I don't like what the direction they're going is. And not just because I'm a coaster enthusiast that wants to ride more coasters, but also from a business perspective. It just doesn't make sense to me.
Which I think, like, your business perspective is helpful, because, like, I feel like a lot of people that are listening, don't work with sales like you do.
I work in the retail space, the retail industry. So, granted, I don't work in the amusement industry, and it's different for sure, but there's some business principles that apply across all industries. So we'll see.
I want to know the difference.
We'll see. So anyway, talked about that a lot longer than I was planning on, but there was a lot of news to cover this week. So
true that. Which is a good thing. I mean,
it is a good thing, and it's good to see.
It's good to see other people enjoy this hobby and stuff.
Well, it's good to see parks making investments. Cedar Fair and Adventureland announced new coaster.
Did we talk about Dollywood?
We talked about Dollywood during our last episode of Airtime Traveler. So
I was gonna say.
So Dollywood announcing a new coaster, Adventureland, Cedar Fair, bunch of stuff. So very exciting.
They started filming their movie this week though at Dollywood.
Yeah,
I've seen a couple of people say that they've spotted Dolly and her co-stars.
I thought it was so funny when we watched the Big Bear Mountain
and they were talking
announcement.
about that.
That's the only thing
the media under my skin.
The media, all the media asked about was the movie. I'm like, why are you even here? This is an announcement for a roller coaster. Yeah. Let the enthusiasts in the industry go and be the media at those events. I don't know, just
Or like
silly.
have like coaster enthusiasts like go, like people who have podcasts like you and I.
Well, that's what I meant.
Sorry.
So
sorry.
No, you're fine. But yeah. So anyway, enough about news. We can talk about news all night.
All right.
So this was what we're gonna do tonight. Was this idea that I had for just it's kind of a new segment / game that I thought Haley and I could do. I don't know if we'll do it like once a year or every 6 months. I don't know how often we'll do it, but the concept was I think are we gonna do 5 minutes? Is that what we decided?
I would even do 3.
3.
Heck yeah.
I don't know if I have enough.
It's a challenge.
I don't have enough parks to do 3. We'll do 5. I think 5. It'll take me 5 minutes just to come up with a name. That's the hardest part for me.
But don't worry, you don't have to sit through those 5 minutes. We'll let it.
Well, they don't even know what we're doing yet. Maybe we should make them sit through the 5 minutes.
No.
We'll just hear scribbles on the. So the idea is we're gonna have. I have like a random generator here. We'll pick a park first of all, and we're gonna pick from parks that Heath and I have both been to, so that we have a little bit more insight. But what I've done is I've made a list of coasters that could potentially be getting removed from these parks in the next several years or so. Or even, 10, 15, 20 years down the line. I didn't put any coasters in there that are like top tier coasters at the park. Like Silver Dollar City's not going to remove Time Traveler anytime soon. So
right.
I didn't put like Time Traveler on there. So, but the idea is we're going to have it randomly pick one of these coasters, and then Haley and I will have 5 minutes to brainstorm and come up with an idea of what we would put in that spot when that coaster is removed. I got this. The other thing, so some of the rules we did say you could just retheme the ride or revamp the ride if you choose to do so. Like if it's a wooden coaster, you could choose to RMC it instead of tearing it out and putting something new in its place. What other stipulations did we have? I will say if you choose to like retheme that whole area of the park to match your idea, like that would be, you could do that too. Like if you want to rename or retheme some of the other rides around it, you could do that. Any other rules we need to have?
No cheating. You
no
can't
cheating.
look.
No copying.
You can't look at mine.
So I guess the only other thing is trying to come up with an idea that would fit in that plot of land. Does that make sense? Like if it's a boomerang coaster that's getting replaced, like you can't just put Expedition Everest in its spot. You know what I mean? Lame. Okay. So here are the 5 parks that I put down for us to consider. And you can tell me... Oh, actually, did I put 6? I did. I do have 6. I have 6 parks for us to consider. And I'll let you pick which park we're going to do. And then I'll spin the wheel and we'll see which coaster we get. And then we'll hit the timer. We'll brainstorm for 5 minutes. And then you guys, you won't hear the full 5 minutes. It'll get cut out and then come right back in. Okay? Mm-hmm. So here are the parks we have. I have Disney World, Hershey Park, Silver Dollar City, Kennywood, King's Dominion, and Kings Island. So I think between the 5 minutes and then discussion time afterwards, we probably have time to do 3 of them.
I would say Kings Island first.
You want to do Kings Island first? Okay.
That was my least favorite, so...
That was your least favorite, really?
Yeah.
You liked King's Dominion more than Kings Island, really?
Yeah.
Interesting. I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, out of all of those, Kings Island, you like Kennywood more than Kings Island?
Yeah, it's my home
That's true. Then you're biased.
I'm sorry.
Do you like the coasters better at Kings Island or Kings Dominion?
Kings Island, probably.
Gotcha, but like the whole experience, the experience as a whole at Kings Dominion. Okay, that's fair. All right, ready?
You can't judge me.
Does this make noise? Oh, that's really loud.
That's not even a good spinning noise.
No, it's not. It's like a digital wheel. Okay, so the one that we got was Woodstock Express. So you didn't even ride Woodstock Express at Kings Island. You just rode it at
King's Dominion.
King's Dominion. So it was at so when you walk into the Camp Snoopy section, you probably saw it. Did you see where Woodstock Express is? Like, do you remember?
I think so, because it was when you walked into it. It was like right off to the right hand side. Wasn't it?
So it was like across. So where Boo Blasters is kind of across the pathway from Boo Blasters, kind of back behind the trees.
Yeah.
Okay. So small plot of land. Since it's in Camp Snoopy, we're probably thinking some type of coaster that would be good for families. So.
Okay.
All right. You ready? Yes, are you ready?
I hope so.
Okay. All right, and go.
So who's going first?
I don't know.
You go first.
Okay. I'll go first. So, I had the idea to put and obviously my answers will be more technical than yours just because I'm more familiar with the industry. That's fine.
Well, then enthusiasts can listen to your answer and the GP can listen to my answer.
Or they can just listen to both. They don't have to fast
they would
forward.
Appreciate mine more because I'm GP.
Oh, okay. They may appreciate yours more, but they should listen to both.
Okay.
So, there's a company called Gravity Group that does a family wooden coaster that it's only like 45, 50 feet tall. It's not super tall. But I've heard a lot of enthusiasts say that they're really fun for how big they are. And so there's only a couple of them been built. I know there's one at Kentucky Kingdom called Kentucky Flyer. So my idea was to build one of those there. So kind of you're pulling out an old wooden coaster and you'll put in something that's still good for families, but it's I don't know, it's much newer. You know, it won't have the same maintenance issues. But still great for kids. Whole family can enjoy it. And my only concern would be if there's enough room back there.
Right.
But I would have to actually measure it out on Google Maps to determine that. Yeah. We'll just assume.
Don't have time
we'll
for
just
that.
assume that they could make the space for it.
Okay.
I would also paint it blue too if they can manage that, because then it would be the same color as Woodstock Express, so that way it kind of in homage to the old ride that used to be there. And then in the same vein, I would want to name it something with Woodstock's name in it. I put down like Woodstock's Wacky Whirl or something like that. I don't know. I'd have to brainstorm a little bit more on the name, but something that's the name I have right now, Woodstock Wacky Whirl. So there's my idea for what they could put in that spot.
Okay, so I don't know, like, if there's a coaster, like a family coaster that's like the Great Pumpkin Coaster. Do they have something?
Their kiddie coaster is called the Great Pumpkin Coaster.
Okay, so then I would probably like retheme it to be like, and like name it Bumps in the Night or something like Spooky Nighttime, because there's not really anything else themed to Boo Blasters. Like Boo Blasters kind of like sits by itself, and so there's nothing else like a spooky kind of family friendly spookiness in the park. So I thought that'd be kind of fun to like retheme like the coaster, maybe like one or two of the other rides, so that way like there's a little spooky section, but then like also have like the Great Pumpkin Coaster, which is also a like a quote unquote spooky ride.
That's interesting, because when the park, not when the park first opened. Well, maybe I can't remember now. But originally, when they had Hanna-Barbera characters there, Boo Blasters was themed to Scooby-Doo, and Woodstock Express was also themed to Scooby-Doo. So they actually used to have the same theme.
Okay.
And then nowadays they've kind of split that apart. So I like that idea of kind of bringing it back together. So
I would do, and like I would retheme it, so I would paint it like black and green to kind of have like the same like theming colors to Boo Blasters, but then I would like have lights on it so that like older kids and young teens can enjoy a night ride, because like adults like night rides too, so I thought it'd be cool to like have like a fun night ride experience for kids and teens. And like have those be purple and white, so it still fits like that spooky theme.
Yep.
But then this was my favorite part. I thought it'd be really cool to have like a fog machine kind of aspect, and instead of a splashdown into water, have a splashdown into like a fog instead. Cool. And then like kind of just like another little detail would be to like add spooky buddies hide and seek game in the queue, so like when kids are waiting, like they can try and find like a spooky buddy like in a bush or up on a poster, and then they have to like find those characters. I don't know, just something to do in the queue line. And then at the picture booth they can pick one of those characters to put on their coaster picture.
Nice.
So there we go.
Okay. So what kind of coaster would it be?
It would just be the same as it is. It would just
so you want to just retheme Woodstock Express. Like repaint it, give it new theming. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like it would be cost efficient, and then like, but it would still pay the homage to this like whole spooky theme and to Boo Blasters, and I feel like Boo Blasters, like, and that coaster would kind of like still give kind of the same familyness to everything else, but then Boo Blasters isn't like awkwardly sitting by itself.
Yeah, I like that. I'm trying to remember. I'm gonna pull up a map really quick. I'm trying to remember what is over in that kind of section of Camp Snoopy.
I thought that there was like a little swing ride, but I'm not
I think you're right. That
certain.
Sounds familiar to me, so I'm trying to.
I paid more attention to the kid rides than I did the coasters at that park, because Parker was with us at that park. So
let's see. So, I think, okay, so Boo Blasters is right here.
I'm struggling to figure out where this paper goes. Okay, that's good.
So Boo Blasters right here. Great Pumpkin Coaster's like on the back side of the building. So here's Woodstock Express here. There is a little, it's called Charlie Brown's Wind Up, is the little swing ride that's right there.
So like that would be even fun to like retheme too, and do like a whole, like paint the seats like purple or something, and maybe do like a whole another spooky theme.
Yeah, because then this is just a statue right here, and then there's like a little, I think it like a tiny little bumper cars right over here on the other side of Woodstock Express. So you could retheme that some way too. So
yeah.
Okay.
So
I like it.
Thanks.
Very cool.
See, I'm not useless when it comes to coastal
I
world.
never said you were useless.
No, but I felt it, so...
I wouldn't have asked you to do the episode with me if I thought you were useless.
Well, thank you.
Everybody can have good ideas. Okay. Well, very cool. So there's our first one, is for Woodstock Express at Kings Island. All right. Next. So let's see. We'll do two more. So
I picked that last one, so you should do the next one.
Oh, I kind of like. I want to do. So we did a Cedar Fair Park. So why don't we do Hershey Park?
Okay.
Oh, let's see. Stupid noise again.
It's a terrible spinning noise.
Super duper looper. Interesting. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I'm dropping my pen. That's an interesting one because of that section of the park is kind of tricky to play with, but okay. All right.
All right, go.
Okay. All right. I went first on Woodstock Express, so I think that means you're going first this time.
I'm nervous. I don't
You're
like
nervous?
my ideas much. No.
Okay.
Okay. So I tear it out.
You tear it out.
I tear it out. I wasn't a big fan of it. Like, I thought it was boring. And I know it's iconic to, like, the park.
Yeah.
But, like, at the same time, like, other rides are iconic to the park, too. Like, Wildcat was iconic, but they still are, like, retheming that one. And I don't know, like, I would take it out.
Yeah.
I think it's time.
It's tough because in the situation we're in, like, as part of the game, it's like, you either take it out or you retheme it. And I'm like, I don't know how you retheme Super Duper Looper. I mean, like you said, it's iconic, and like the loop, you know, sitting over the river, like it just, you know, that's been there for a long, long time. But for the purposes of our game, I'll let you know I'm also tearing it out for my idea. So
okay. So because it's like sitting on water, I thought it'd be kind of cool to like have like a ride mix between like Diamondback and Twisted Timbers. And they can even use aspects of Super Duper Looper, so keep maybe like one of the loops in there, and then like kind of do some of the aspects like where you go upside down twice with Twisted Timbers. Like, I thought that'd be kind of cool to add that, like, you know, instead of one big loop, maybe do like two like little ones like with Twisted Timbers. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know what loop you're talking about. Untwisted Timbers?
Didn't it go upside down twice in a row?
It doesn't go upside down twice in a row. It goes upside down 3 times.
When it first goes off, like, and you come like get whipped around, and then it goes upside down. That's that was my favorite aspect. Was like when you come around the bend and then you like go upside down. What's that called? Is it a roll or a helix?
Like off the first drop?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a barrel roll drop is what they call it.
Okay, so I would do, I liked that. So I think that'd be a fun aspect. But instead of it being like a wood coaster, like with the, I wouldn't have RMC do it because it's not a wood coaster and they're not like retheming it. So maybe do some like just a steel coaster.
Yeah. RMC is capable, well, except you're probably going to have an RMC at that park anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
In less than a year, so.
Right. So I would do, but then like with the Diamondback aspect, like because it's on the water, it'd be kind of cool to have like a splashdown or a water effect, kind of like the Diamondback. And then I'd love to see like more rides named after like candy that Hershey produces, because I think that's so dumb. Like they have such great marketing aspects of like naming things after the candy that they have. Like they finally have a shooting ride that's like based off of like Reese's Cup, and then they have Apple Zapple now that's based off of Jolly Rancher.
Not Apple Zapple. Jolly Rancher remix.
Yes. So yeah, sorry, Apples, Apples, Twisted Timbers, Apples. Anyways, yep. Yes. But I would love to see like something named after like Twizzler. So like Twisted Twizzler, kind of like a.
They might use Twisted Twizzler for the Wildcat replacement. So.
We'll see. But like Tangled Twizzler or Lightning Licorice, I thought was hilarious.
Lightning Licorice.
Or something like Tide, like licorice, but like tongue-tied, or I don't know, something like that. But that was my idea. It's kind of lame, but
it's not lame. So it would be just like a steel coaster, but it wouldn't be RMC. So maybe like a Dominator. Like a floorless coaster.
That'd be kind of cool.
Because they don't have. They have a looping.
Do that with like a super like the big loop, but like have like the floorless where you're hanging, like when you go up.
Do you mean the floorless or inverted coaster?
Whatever one that hangs you.
Except they already have an inverted. They have Great Bear, which it would be right next to Great Bear too. So.
Oh, that's true.
But the floorless coaster, you're not necessarily hanging, but you don't have anything underneath your feet except for the track.
Which should still be cool.
And they don't have anything like that there. They have.
That'd be kind of cool.
I mean, they have a looping coaster in Fahrenheit, but it's built by a different company, so.
That'd be cool to do like over the water too.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Okay, what's your idea?
So mine, I'm also tearing it out. And mine is kind of based on a rumor, not a rumor, because like the only rumor that there was for Hershey Park, and I don't know if that rumor's still a thing now since they're doing something with Wildcat instead of what had been rumored previously. But there was a rumor that Hershey Park had bought Candemonium in like a bundle with a dive coaster, and so that this idea kind of was sparked by that rumor. So because my idea was, and I got the idea from, there's a coaster at Canada's Wonderland called Yukon Striker, which is a huge dive coaster. I think it's 250 feet tall, something like that. But it goes, the first drop, it goes, straight down like all dive coasters. And then it actually goes under the water and comes back up. Like they have like a tunnel that they built under.
Wild.
So my idea is either you could build the station up here or you could have the lift go up here. But I want the first drop to come down straight at the creek and then go under the bridge and come back up.
Oh, wild. That'd be crazy.
So I think that would be really cool. Like you could go do the same concept, right? Like it would go under the water, but also go under the bridge. I think that would be really picturesque, and like it would also like
give a thrill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then, it can do some inversions back over here and then it could come back. It looks like there's plenty of room back on top of this ridge right along Park Boulevard here that you could do some more inversions and then come back into the station. So then I was trying to figure out a name because I was thinking along the same lines that you were of like, I enjoy what Hershey Park has been doing with like using more candy in their names and, kind of marketing their own brands. And so I was like, I pulled up a list of like the candy brands that they have. And, you know what Rolos are, right?
Yeah.
Like the little chocolate candies with caramel in the middle. So I saw that and I was like,
oh no.
What if we called it the Rolo coaster?
I could so see you coming up with the right line.
The Rolo coaster.
The Rolo coaster. You could even make the wheels look like Rolos.
That might be hard.
Well,
but because my thing is like you could paint the track to be like a caramel color. Since you already have the chocolate colored track in Candemonium, I wouldn't want to do like the same color track. Right. So, but you could do like a caramel
like
color.
Like a yellowy.
Like yeah, something like that. And then you can paint the trains brown or whatever, and the Rolo coaster. I tried to think of something with dive in the name, like it was like Delicious Dive or Delectable Dive. I'm like,
Chocolate Dive.
I like alliteration though, so I was trying to think of like a D word that I could use, but they don't have any candies that start with D, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm sure there's a better name than Rolo
We'll just
coaster.
name it the Dive and like have it like a chocolate pool thing. Could be like Willy Wonka. Fill the river with just chocolate. And
just a chocolate river.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm sure there's a better name for it than the better name that could be picked instead of Rolo coaster, but
maybe so.
That's what I came up with in the 5 minutes.
I'm digging it.
So I think that would be cool. So, but I don't know. We'll see.
All right, which one should we do next?
Well, you should pick because I picked Hershey Park.
I know, but that would mean I would pick two and you would only pick one. So we should pick it together.
I think we could either do. I mean, we have.
I think Silver Dollar City is themed really well. So.
The thing is like we have your home park on there, my home park on there, and Disney World on there. So I don't know. That's not really a bad pick. And then King's Dominion is also on there, which I know you've said is you really enjoyed. King's Dominion, so.
Walt Disney World or Kennywood.
Let's do Disney World then. So I only have 2 on here for Disney World, okay? Mm-hmm. Because a lot of their coasters are kind of classics that are never going to go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Or brand new and they're not going to go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So the 2 that I put on here was Primeval World because that one's already gone. So we would come up with what's going to go in its spot. Mm-hmm. And the other one was Rock and Roller Coaster because they rethemed that one in Paris. So clearly they're open to, either retheming it or, that coaster's been there for over 20 years, so they might be willing to do something.
So Primeval
Roll,
Rock and Roller
Coaster.
Coaster.
Okay, you ready?
Oh, it's not the one I wanted. But...
Rock and Roller Coaster. Okay, that's going to be more difficult.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Or Steven Tyler.
We're going to have to... We'll do this again, though, at some point. We'll save some of these other ones to, do in the future. So, okay. Rock and Roller Coaster. You ready?
Yeah.
You're so hesitant every time.
I'm nervous. I don't know. I really have no ideas on this one.
Okay. Ready?
Yeah.
Go. Okay, I'm gonna go first because I was struggling. I have no confidence in my idea. I don't know, I was really having a hard time finding something that kind of fits the California theme of that section of the park, but also works as an indoor coaster. Because I had the idea of doing some kind of surfing theme. I was like, surfing, but in I don't know, in the dark doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What else? I thought of a Doctor Strange themed coaster would be cool with
that would be
super
cool.
trippy lighting and screens.
I actually really like that idea.
But again, it doesn't feel like it fits, especially because Doctor Strange is based in New York.
It doesn't have to be California themed, I don't think. I mean,
it doesn't have to be, but to me, that's what that whole section of the park is supposed to be, right? It's
I guess so.
the Hollywood Tower Hotel, that's the ride right next to it. So, anyway, what I ended up deciding to do was just retheming the ride, but I would keep the name, but I think my idea is kind of bland, but it's just to take Aerosmith off of the ride, so make it more generic, because I think for someone like me, I still listen to Aerosmith, but I think people younger than me, they're probably becoming less and less popular as time goes on.
Right.
And so I think if you're going to appeal to the next generation of Disney guests, it's going to have to be something, that appeals to them. And I think rather than bringing in a different band to do it, maybe just do something kind of more generic. So I thought of you could do, I haven't decided what I would actually do, but I thought maybe you could, you got shrunk down and you're flying through different instruments or whatever. So you
different eras of rock music would be
kind of that could be cool. So you time travel or something, and you're flying through different eras of music, and the music is changing in the background as you go through it. So something like that, where it's still music themed and you can still call it the same thing, but you're making it more generic, so it's more applicable to everybody, whether they've listened to Aerosmith or not. I don't know.
I like it.
Yeah, I was trying to think of some Disney properties that had recently come out that would fit. I just couldn't think of anything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the only other thing I would do is get rid of the over-the-head restraints and put vest restraints on it.
Oh, I would definitely do that.
That was the first thing I thought of. Was get rid of those and put those more comfortable vest restraints on there. So, all right, let's hear your better idea.
Okay. So I looked at the map, and if you look on the map at Disney World, the Cars experience is right next to...
Yeah, it's right next to the Lightning McQueen Racing Academy or whatever it's called.
Yeah, so I was like, that'd be kind of cool is to have a roller coaster. I know they technically have one in California's
well, it's not a roller coaster though.
But it is a ride. And
yes,
it
they
is
do.
a more fast-paced ride.
Yeah.
But I thought a roller coaster would be really cool. So I would theme it more to Cars. I mean, Cars is classic, but it's also like, kids' favorite. I mean, our kid watched Cars like, all the time.
And you could take down, because they kind of have the two rides kind of separate. Like there's like a little wall that kind of like.
Yeah, like I completely forgot they had Cars experience.
It's really hidden back there.
So that's why I was like retheme like the whole Rock and Roller Coaster to like Cars. And then I would even add like either like a really cool restaurant, like Flo's Diner. I've never been to the one in California, Disneyland. Mm-hmm. So I don't know like what they have there in Cars Land, but I thought Flo's Diner would be really cool, or even having like, I don't know, cuisine that like is based off of Cars. I don't know, like something like that I thought would be really, really cool.
You might not have enough room for a restaurant, but you could probably put a quick service in there for sure.
Yeah, just something else to like help tie in the theming of that area.
Yeah.
So my first idea would be like have it almost identical to the rock coaster, but instead have it to like where Lightning is late. Lightning or Cruise, since the third movie is out now. But Lightning or Cruise is late for his race, and he has to like make her race. Yeah. Like I said, like his race because of Lightning, but yeah, Cruise, his or her race is late for the Piston Cup, so they have to make it to the Piston Cup. So I would like keep like the whole, I'm late, I gotta make it there on time. That's why it's a launch coaster. Anyways, instead of like the red light going down, it would be like, start your engines, and then it's like you could hear Lightning saying "ka-chow" in the back, and like vroom vroom vroom, and then going off. I thought that'd be kind of cool. My second idea is, so instead of doing like late for the race completely, like retheme it, but then add aspects where it's Mather's Ghost Light or like a Mather themed ride. Since Mather is the best backwards driver, add aspects where it goes forward and he's running from like the tractors, but then having him being chased backwards from the Ghost Light would be really fun.
So would you completely tear it out and put a new coaster in its place then, so that you can have forward and backwards aspects?
Maybe. I don't know, that was just my other idea, was to have something Mather themed, because they don't have anything that goes, I mean, I guess they do now, because Guardians goes backwards, doesn't it?
Well, in Expedition Everest.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But they don't have anything in this park that goes backwards. Anyways, I thought that'd be kind of cool.
That would be kind of interesting. So if you tore it out and put in like an Intamin multi-launch coaster, where it would, launch into the building. They haven't worked with Intamin in a long time. But anyway, it would launch into the building, and then like it could come to a point where it stops, and then it launches backwards, and then it would come to another spot where it launches back forwards, and then finishes the ride out forwards or whatever. So the Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure does that, where it has like a backwards, like a forwards launch, but then it also has like a backwards portion, and so.
Anyways, I think Cars would be fun. I think it'd be a fun little. Like, it's Pixar, so it fits with the Hollywood Studios theme. It, still has like that 50 like feel, because like there's the 50s diner there. So like you could even add like Flo, because like Flo's Diner. I don't know.
It's tricky.
It'd be fun
because
to even like have like a little store where you could buy like just bumper stickers, like the one older car.
Can you tell that Haley's been watching a lot of Cars?
I watch it every day with our son.
It's our son's favorite movie right now. So. But it's tricky because I can't really tell what, like, Disney always is trying to tell like a cohesive story with their themed areas, but lately it feels like they're kind of would rather focus on IPs rather than telling new stories, if that makes sense. Like, they brought in Toy Story, and they brought in Galaxy's Edge, and they're bringing in Tron, and they're bringing in... So, they're bringing in all these IPs that they already have, instead of, like Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster, where like the park first opened, they were telling a brand new story with those rides. So it's kind of like, okay, so are they going to keep going with like the California theme, or are they going to start throwing IPs in other sections of the park too? Because if you don't care about the, keeping in theme with the California lifestyle, there's all kinds of stuff you could throw in there. I mean, because in Paris, they took their Rock and Roller Coaster and they rethemed it to Avengers. And, like, the trains are, like, styled to look like Iron Man, and, like, they added video screens and stuff so that it's like you're launching off in the Iron Man suit. So they rethemed that whole thing to Marvel. And, I mean, heck, you could do that here, too. Like I said, like, with the Doctor Strange thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's all kinds of stuff you could do if you don't care about it fitting in with Cars Next Door or Twilight or Tower of Terror across the street. So, but I don't know how much they care about that at this point. So,
yeah,
because everything else in the park is based off of an IP at this point. So,
well, I mean, they have Pixar Place, which is all Toy Story, right?
Well, yeah, it's called Toy Story Land.
Then
It's
they
all
have
it's
like
all Toy
Star
Story.
Wars, so like Galaxy's Edge is all Star Wars. So like they have sections where it's like specific. Like, but they have multiple rides, and that's what I'm saying is like because there's Cars experience already there.
You just do it to Cars.
Yeah.
Because I don't think they'll ever touch Tower of Terror.
No, that's so iconic that it's.
Then again, they did that at Disneyland, so
I guess it's true.
So never say never. But since that one's the original, I feel like they'll never touch it. I think as long as it's operating safely and not causing problems financially, I think they'll keep that there as long as possible. It's pretty much the icon of the park at this point. So
yeah, especially because they took the hat out, so it's like
so
that's its symbol.
It's their quote unquote centerpiece, even though it's not at the center of the park.
Well, neither is the ball, but
well, not the center of the park, I guess, but it's not front and center when you walk in. It's like off to the side over here.
Right.
But anyway. Okay. Well, there you go. There's 3 new ideas. If any of the parks are listening, we claim the rights to any of these ideas if you decide to use them. We will accept, if you choose to use these ideas, we will accept 50% of any additional revenue that your idea brings to the park.
I'm liking this idea. We'll sell our ideas.
Oh, I would eat my foot if they used any of the ideas that we presented today. Not that they're bad ideas.
What kind of terminology is that? I've never heard that phrase before.
What?
Eat your foot?
What? Yeah, I'll eat my foot.
You know I have a foot fetish.
You do not. You have a foot
fear. Whatever. In fetish.
The opposite. I call it a fear.
I can't. I'm out. You know what? You close here on. Oh, eat your foot. No, I can't. Okay, moving on.
Oh goodness. Well, on that note, thanks for listening to this episode of Coaster Conversations. If you haven't had,
I'm gonna barf. That's so nasty.
If you haven't had a chance to listen to Airtime Traveler, I encourage you to do so. This past week, we talked about Intimidator at Carowinds. So yeah, we'll have a new episode coming out next Monday, so be sure to go check that out. You can also follow us on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. We're just at Airtime Traveler, having all kinds of conversations over there. And like I said, we talked about today. I made a post talking about my thoughts on the Cedar Fair versus Six Flags announcements yesterday. So, and I think that's all we got for this episode. So, anything else that you wish to add to the coaster conversation for today? No, she has nothing else.
I'm out. I told you I'm out.
Well, thank you for tuning in to this episode, and we'll see you next time.